Energy is the silent currency of civilization, the unseen force that powers every aspect of modern life. From the light that illuminates our homes to the complex digital networks that connect the globe, our world runs on a constant and ever-growing supply of power. For centuries, we have relied on a finite and often destructive pantry of resources, burning fossil fuels that have propelled our progress, but at a significant cost to our planet's stability. But what if that final barrier vanished? What if a technology so efficient and ubiquitous emerged that energy became, for all practical purposes, free? Unlike nuclear fission, which splits heavy atoms apart, fusion combines light atoms, typically isotopes of hydrogen, releasing immense energy. The fuel sources are virtually inexhaustible, derived from common seawater. For decades, scientists have wrestled with containing a miniature star on Earth, requiring temperatures hotter than the sun's core and pressures of unimaginable force. Our entire global economy is calibrated to this reality of energy as a priced commodity. In the world we are about to explore, this foundational economic principle is rendered obsolete. The moment the first commercial-scale free fusion plants begin feeding their zero marginal cost electricity into the grid, the established energy market enters a state of terminal shock. A fusion plant bidding at zero would instantly become the permanent baseload provider, running 24/7 and undercutting every other form of generation. The first casualties are the power plants with the highest operating costs, coal-fired power stations, natural gas plants, even the renewable energy sector. A utility company that has invested billions in a massive offshore wind farm with debts to service cannot compete on price. A wave of shutdowns begins, not over years, but in a matter of months. A process analysts would later call the Great Unplugging. The long-theorized carbon bubble doesn't just deflate, it pops with explosive force. Nations whose economies are built almost entirely on the export of oil and gas, like countries across the Middle East and Russia, face an existential crisis. Governments can no longer fund their budgets, pay their militaries, or provide social services. The incumbent energy industry, facing annihilation, unleashes an unprecedented lobbying effort to delay the transition. But their arguments ring hollow. The wholesale collapse of the fossil fuel industry delivers an immediate and profound environmental dividend, effectively solving the climate crisis by accident. However, the rapid reduction in aerosol pollutants unmasks the full warming potential of existing greenhouse gases, leading to a temporary but noticeable spike in global temperatures. Furthermore, the new energy paradigm creates its own resource demands. The construction of a global fleet of fusion reactors requires vast quantities of specific materials, like lithium. The challenge for humanity shifts from stopping emissions to managing the material life cycle of its new energy system in a sustainable way. The arrival of zero marginal cost energy sends a powerful deflationary shockwave through the global economy. Energy-intensive industries that were once unfeasible, such as large-scale direct air capture and vertically integrated urban megafarms, suddenly become wildly profitable. The transportation sector is the first to be completely transformed. The transition to electric vehicles happens at a breakneck pace. The most profound shift is the birth of the hydrogen economy, as limitless electricity makes electrolysis virtually free, creating a parallel energy vector. Water scarcity is addressed through massive desalination plants, allowing deserts to bloom and securing water supplies for burgeoning megacities. The initial wave of job dislocation is followed by a broader shift driven by mass automation, creating a structural challenge of mass underemployment. The debate over universal basic income moves from the fringes to the center of political reality, the only viable way to provide a safety net. With remote work and super-fast transport, people are no longer tethered to urban centers. Smaller towns and rural areas experience a renaissance. In a world where the struggle for basic subsistence is largely eliminated, what becomes the driving force of human endeavor? For some, this leads to an explosion of creativity and scientific exploration. For others, it creates a crisis of meaning, a sense of aimlessness in a world without the familiar structures of work. Decades after the initial shock, a new geopolitical chessboard emerges, based not on control over fuel, but on the mastery of fusion technology. The age of abundance reveals the next layer of fundamental limits: raw materials, sourced from Earth and, increasingly, from off-world asteroids. Society has recalibrated, finding value not in what one produces, but in what one discovers, what one creates, and what one contributes to the collective human experience. The psychological burden of a post-labor world proves immense, leading to new forms of social malaise and existential crises. Ultimately, free fusion solves humanity's energy problem. But in doing so, it simply uncovers the next, more complex set of challenges waiting for us. It proves that technology alone cannot perfect the human condition. Our greatest challenges are, and always will be, deeply and stubbornly human. The end of the energy problem is not the end of history. It is simply the end of the beginning. The quiet revolution of free fusion is a story of unintended consequences, a reminder that even the most celebrated technological breakthrough is a double-edged sword. It forces us to ask not just what we can achieve with limitless power, but what we might become. What scenario should we explore next? Share your ideas below. You've been watching IfVerse, where imagination meets possibility. See you in our next reality.